Samsung's Neo QLED Mini LED QN90D. Up next.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. The star of today's video is the Samsung Neo QLED Mini LED QN90D. I had hands-on time at Samsung HQ where I had unlimited time to game and stream. Here are my thoughts on the Samsung QN90D Neo QLED Mini LED. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. Looking at the Samsung QN90D Neo QLED Mini LED. Very quick look at the design, very similar to years past. Small black bezel. Love the center stand. You'll see it throughout this video. Now the stand looks chunky. It's not. It's just the way my camera is angled against the white cabinet that it's sitting on. Now I'll tell you in regards to the Samsung QN90D Neo QLED Mini LED, as it's going to be one of the most overlooked TVs this year. The reason why I say that is I simply overlooked it at my time at Samsung headquarters. To be very honest, I was not happy with what I saw at CES, or I should say I wasn't impressed, simply because the QN90D seemed to be overlooked. The QN900D has the brand new processor and the S95D has the new finish. So I spent most of my time with those two models, especially the 900D. You see me doing double duty using two cameras. I'm filming the back of it with one camera and filming the front with another. I literally squeezed this in at the end of the day. However, I spent about 10 hours there simply because once I saw the QN90D, I was kind of hooked and I did not want to rush through it. I spent a little over an hour with it. The entire Samsung team was kind of stuck with me, as well as the other reviewers there. I kind of slowed everybody down. Meaning, I was disappointed in myself for not spending more time with it, because once I saw it, I was very impressed with the Samsung QN90D. Now, as I mentioned at CES, it was kind of regulated to the corner. It wasn't talked about much. We discussed it in our Samsung wrap-up for CES, that we felt that the Neo QLED 90D was kind of regulated to this mid-tier. Now this is the flagship for now, and this is where I'm going to be very candid about Samsung and their lineup and where it confuses many of you. In the Neo QLED lineup, there are all kinds of sizes, all kinds of models: 90, 85, 80, 70, 75. The list goes on and on. That is its greatest strength, but also its greatest weakness. This is the flagship of the Neo QLED 4K lineup. However, there will be a QN95 a little bit later in the year. That's the one that I tend to review year after year. Starting last year with the QN95C, that TV was not just a rebranding, it was a step up. Better processor, 144 Hz gaming, it was superior. Which is why I almost let the QN90D slip by. And I'm very glad I didn't skip it. I'm glad I spent time with it. I was very impressed with it. It was almost better only spending this little bit of time. I didn't have time to really change the image. I know I can, but I was really enjoying the presets that it was in, both light and dark. You see me closing the door in the reflection, literally keeping people there late. But every year there's a TV that catches us off guard, a TV that we overlook. Now, in years past, my apprehension with the 90 series has been the mix of ADS Pro and VA panels, jumping from size to size. Hard to review one size if the other size has a different panel. From what we can tell this year, it's all VA. Some of you are upset that they're VA, some are upset that they're ADS Pro in the past. I actually like VA. And to be honest, I don't get caught up in it. I really want to see the image on screen. I don't get caught up in zone counts either. I can judge the display in a vacuum, meaning just me and the TV hanging out, and I was very impressed with it. To the point is, while I was filming it, I felt guilty for not giving it more time. And I actually almost skipped this review, as the YouTube platform is literally saturated with Samsung content now, as everybody's releasing at the same time. But I did not want to leave it out, as I was impressed, and my take on it is going to be a little bit different. The tough thing for the QN90D in the lineup is being cannibalized by its own OLED, QD-OLED lineup, namely the S90D this year. I'm going to get back to that in a second as we go into this next demo from our very good friend Jennifer Gala and our second channel, HDR SUPER CHANNEL. This is my favorite demo here for black bars. Now, I stay fixed here only because my other camera died. It was the end of the day, so this one's on a tripod. Typically, I'll move around, but the local dimming is very effective. Even as I bring up the menu, you can see the light in the room does not change. I'm not lowering anything to hide the black bars. They are black. Even when I jump into dynamic, the blacks are still very good, especially in the black bars. So local dimming is a win. Transition is very quick. Again, I don't get caught up in the zone count or anything like that. I didn't have those numbers while I was there. They have an updated NQ4 AI Gen 2 processor. It's an updated processor that they've already had. The top of the line processor is on the QN90D, QN90D. Always leave out the N. The display sounds pretty good. Definitely use it in tandem. The Q Symphony with their leading soundbars is a great combination. It sounds decent for a TV if you don't want to use a soundbar. And Tizen 2024 OS is here if you like Tizen. It's snappy, it's quick, but the local dimming looks fantastic. The image looks fantastic. You were seeing an LG logo in the top right corner. This is just an LG demo. I like to show this demo for dynamic and going around the presets for you. But back to what I was saying about Samsung and their own lineup. This is an easy recommend if it wasn't for the S90D sitting beside it. Now, the S90D is not exactly cheap right now, but it's competing with its own lineup. It's cannibalizing it a bit. If the QD-OLEDs didn't exist, this would be an instant buy for your mini LED. Maybe wait for the QN95. Now, the QN95C from last year and the year before were basically limited to high-end retailers. Not sure if that'll happen again this year, but I'll definitely review it when I see it. Love that TV last year. The QN90C was a step down, noticeable step down. But the mixing and matching of panels, meaning ADS and VA, made it hard to know which one I was reviewing and which one you were buying. I obviously wasn't going to review every size. That said, the year before the QN90B, great TV. I love the differences in sizes that are available for this particular lineup. Now, why do I mention QD-OLED? Simply because they are absolutely amazing. If you compare them, obviously the micro contrast of a QD-OLED is going to win every single time. But viewing this mini LED in a vacuum, for those of you that are still afraid of burn-in and maybe struggle with reflections, it's bright, it's punchy, its local dimming is on point. Samsung has very good processing. When they update these processors, it's not just market speak, they are retooled. But I know they want to set apart the QN90D this year. And they have. Probably one of the best TVs of the year. Which is why the QN90D or QN90D, I keep leaving out the N, is kind of left behind, but it's not. You'll see them in store. Though I'd argue the S95C with that matte coating is going to really shine in a store environment. Reflection handling is always good on Samsung QLED mini LEDs. But as I mentioned, I was going to quickly shoot this video, maybe shoot a short, kind of bypass it, but I ended up hanging out later. That's how good it was. I wanted to spend time with it. I muscled everybody out of the room on the 900D and then the S95D. And then on my way out, I just sat my tail down and hung out. That's how good it is. You can see the light not changing in the room. Very colorful image. Good motion. And I was very impressed with it. Now, in regards to Samsung, while we're being candid, there is force by numbers. They literally have so many TVs, so many sizes, so many different technologies. Typically, the QN85 is an excellent display at this, just below this level. However, I believe this year that's going to be a VA panel as well, where in the past you might have had an ADS Pro at the 85 and then a VA at the 90. Now it'll be a little bit more even. But the 85 is typically the bargain version of the 90. Well, the 95 is the high-end version of the 90. You see where it gets confusing. What I love about Samsung's lineup, though it is flooded with TVs, there is something for everyone. You will leave no one out. You want a specific size? They got you. You want this one? They got you. You want a giant one? They got you. There will be a 97 or 98 version of this TV. Later in the year, it'll be ultra expensive, but it's good to know it's there. Again, look at the local dimming. Excellent. When the screen is black, the room gets completely dark. Super impressed with it. Transitions are very good. Now, what I noticed with the QN90D as well as the QN900D is Samsung is changing their signature a bit. They're retaining the black level but not flattening out. At times in SDR and even in HDR, if there's a quick transition, it'll brace itself and it'll gray a little bit, dimming it slightly. That does not happen here. The blacks are inky, the stars look good. So why keep mentioning overlooking it? Simply because there is so much competition out there, but the biggest competition for Samsung or against Samsung is Samsung. It's their own lineup. Now again, the Neo QLED Mini LED 8K is going to be very premium and very expensive. But I know why they had to set that TV apart. And it is apart. It's apart from nearly anything out there on the market today from any manufacturer. But that does not diminish this TV. Its biggest weakness is that it's a bit expensive for what it is, at least these days, compared to the competition. But again, it is the flagship. Other TVs have simplified their lineups, or I should say other manufacturers have simplified their lineups. They have one flagship, one mid, maybe one entry. Samsung has several. In that, the pricing gets dicey. But Samsung does pull ahead in regards to, see me shutting the door again, pulls ahead in regards to its competitive pricing after launch. Many different versions and many different sizes. But that quantum dot color is unmistakable. When you see these transitions, the TV feels very bright. And again, local dimming is very good. As I mentioned earlier, getting caught up in what is VA and what is ADS Pro, that is not something I get caught up in. I judge the TV on what I see in front of me at the time. Later in the year, I'll compare it to something else. I'm actually more interested in comparing either a much larger size, this is 65, and also the smaller 42 or 48, which I did review the 4890B. Love the TV. So I love that Samsung offers many sizes of their models. And new to Samsung is a color booster, very similar to Live Color, Real Depth Enhancer Pro, AI Pro. all little increments or added increments that would make you choose this over last year's. However, I would argue the biggest difference between the D and the C is local dimming, is that black level, and not just, again, getting blooming to a minimum, but staying black, not graying. That way they don't crush blacks, they keep the shadow detail, but the blooming is under control, as you'll see in this shot here. And then the background in this next shot. You can actually see where the TV's outline is just kind of in space. So I love about their stand. As she moves the makeup down, blooming is at a minimum. Now we've seen this demo here from Jen on many TVs so far, OLEDs and mini LEDs. What you see underneath that haloing is actually the light from outside. It'll calm down in a moment, but it handles it very well. You see it right there. Very bright, beautiful specular highlights, or specular highlights, I should say. But where are you in the Neo QLEDs? Do you feel like the QD-OLEDs are the only way to go in 4K? How do you feel about where it's positioned? For me, its drawback is going to be its price at launch. It's still viewed as the flagship. Before we transition into gaming, what I typically see with Samsung is covering this now, but at the end of the year, that's when people turn around and they scoop these TVs up when they drop in price, which makes complete sense. Moving on to gaming, Samsung has one of the best game bars in the business. Now I know the QN95 last year had 144 Hertz. Actually not sure here. I think we're capped at 120. But they do have one of the best game bars in the business, primarily due to its presets. The ability to change the image, standard, RPG, RTS, FPS, sports, original, which is your most natural, and then custom recreate your own. But in reality, you can actually customize each preset. VRR, ALM, everything you could possibly need, you have here. Now I will revisit the QN90D when I have either a sample, which would be at 85, or a smaller size, and we'll really go through it. But as I finish this video, which is actually short for me, for the crew that watches my videos live, love you guys, I was impressed with it. And again, I don't watch a lot of other reviewers. I don't know what they're saying about it, but I was impressed with it. I enjoyed my time with it to the point where they had to keep knocking on the window to say, look, are you ready to go or what? So I feel guilty for two reasons: for holding everybody up, but the fact is I really wanted to spend time with this TV. And I spent a good enough time with it to get a good feel for it. If you want Samsung's 4K flagship, it's an easy recommend. And it's not so much what beats it from outside of Samsung, it's Samsung's own lineup. If the S90 or you're in a very, very bright room and a QD-OLED is not for you, it's really the only game in town. I think it'll be far away from the 85. And I'll let you know how the 95 turns out. I may compare those when I get the 95, or at least I'll see that at Value Electronics, and we'll compare them there. And if I can get a smaller one home, I definitely will. Now in closing, 2024 has not been a small year. It's been a massive jump for many TVs. And the QN90D is an upgrade over last year's QN90C. But will it stand out? I believe it will later on in the year when people actually circle back for it. Price drops a little bit. I think it'll be a very popular option and a very popular TV for many of you. As of right now, it is the Flagship. It is a recommend if you're looking for a 4K TV in Samsung's lineup that is not a QD-OLED. All right, guys, I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Love you guys. Take care.